We are fearfully and wonderfully made. So back in February, when my husband was in the hospital, I talked about what it felt like to be disconnected from my sweet husband, who's my rock and who is the one that I lean on. And I talked about how distressing that was, and that I had to really sit and think about really what is my rock and my foundation. Is it something outside of me? And so I got a good look then and realized that yes, a lot of the time it is, because I'm blessed to be married to somebody who takes care of me, who is there for me, who's willing to rescue me. And coming from my life of dogged independence, when I was single, that was hard for me to rest into, but man, did I fall into that over the 16 years of marriage. But, you know, when we have our foundation in something that's outside of us, we lose touch with who we are and what our real foundation is, which is spirit. And so this week I got to practice again, as we often do, the lessons that we need to learn the most. So I was out in that storm Thursday afternoon driving, and as soon as I left the garage, the worst of that storm hit, and I could barely see in front of me. So I was headed here to the center for the A Course in Miracles class at 11 a.m. and was just trying to make it through that storm, and I'm on George Bush. The car's hydroplaning. I'm tapping the brakes. I'm not feeling like the tires are engaging. And, you know, my heart's beating out of my chest. So I decide I'm going to get off the highway, and I decide to take my husband calls them surface roads, to take the surface roads here. And so I took the surface roads here, but I got halfway here, and the car starts making noises. And so I could hear it in the car, and I knew it wasn't the rain, so I pulled off. My heart's still beating in my chest because the rain's still coming down in sheets and everything. And so I turn the car off, and I still hear the noise for a few seconds. And so I'm wondering, do I keep driving? Do I try to get to the center? I was probably halfway here. And as is my usual, I called my husband. And so I tell him I'm hearing noises in the car, and I describe what it is, and he's trying to think of what it could be. And so he kind of figured out probably it's one or two things, and he says, well, I think you're okay, and it's not something that'll stop the car from running, so you're probably okay continuing to the center, but if you want, I'll come get you. And I think, oh, isn't he sweet? You know, he is. And then I thought, maybe I should rely on what's inside of me. So I said, no, honey, I'm okay. And we disconnected our call, and I sat with the rain falling on the windshield. My heart's still hammering a little bit. It had calmed down some because I got to hear his voice. And I thought, so if I'm going to lean into my divinity in this moment, where I feel like I either want to scream or cry, what does that look like? And so I didn't cry, which is unusual for me, but I just sat. I think I sat for about half an hour, just trying to find peace again. Let my body calm down, let my brain calm down, because then I'm thinking about, gosh, does the car need to be fixed? How much is it going to cost? I don't want to deal with this. Do we have the money? Or we wanted to do this? I don't want to, oh my gosh, so everything's kind of swirling in my head. And I kept having to clear the thoughts.
Yeah.
And really had to work to let the fear go. And the, ticking up my inner calculators, counting on how much could this cost, and where are we going to have to go, and what appointments do I have, and still I'm saying, just calm down. Calm down. If the Father and I are truly one, why am I in such distress? Why? So I sat some more, dealing with the distress. And I eventually calmed down, and I don't know that I was peaceful, but I was quiet. And I didn't feel like I needed to pick up the phone and call again. I didn't feel like I had to have some white-knuckled reaction to what was going on. And I just continued to sit. Because I think until we get it, we need to stay in it. So don't be afraid to stay in what's happening to you. And as often as you have to remind yourself, like I was in that moment, that the Father and I are one. Jesus often reminded himself and said out loud, the Father and I are one, whenever there was something he had to deal with. Before miracles were manifested, he said, the Father and I are one. And so I did call Judy to let her know that I was going to go on back home, because we knew we weren't going to meet. And so I went home. But then I have to deal with coming in the door, still kind of with what I'm feeling, and not letting it go all over my husband. New training for me. You know how to deal with what we're feeling and not let the ones we love suffer because of what we're feeling. And so I kind of let him know, oh, this isn't the time. I'm feeling kind of, something's going on. And so he gave me space. I went in my office and I started to go through my files. And I'm purging stuff I didn't need. And I'm shredding stuff I needed to get rid of. Just still letting this pent-up emotion and feeling and anxiety go away. Because I can get pretty amped up. And I think we all can. We're in those moments of distress. And I cleaned and purged till about 10 o'clock that night. Because I needed to feel the peace. I needed to practice finding it within myself, by myself. I was determined that I wasn't going to find it outside of me. But it was nice to know that I could if I wanted to. But man, did it take some time. But you know what? As I sank into that peace that eventually came, my head got clear. And suddenly, some of the things that I had been trying to work out for my business became clear. They surfaced, and I had these great ideas about how to move forward with my business. At 10:30 at night, when usually my brain is shut off, and I'm halfway under the covers. And so I got out a pen and paper, and I'm writing them all down, still sinking into this peace that was washing over me. And just kind of feeling it and realizing this is what can happen when we remember who we are. Divinity in action. Remember that the Father and I are one, that there is no separation, that I am spirit, that I am power, that I am strength, that I am imagination, because those ideas were coming up. And they solved some things that I had been kind of working over in my head for a couple of days before. And so they came up, not when I called them up, but when I was free and peaceful enough for them to rise up within me. They were already there. I just couldn't see it when I was trudging around through life trying to make it happen. So one of the books that I'm reading for my class, Healing and Wholeness, is How to Let God Help You by Myrtle Fillmore, one of the founders. And so I read this also. This I happened upon on Friday, the day after all this is going on. Let me say it again. Stop trying so hard to know that everything is as it should be. Just rest your mind and heart and emotions and body in God mind. When you are truly thinking God, you cannot struggle to do anything. It is when you are thinking of self that you struggle and see nothing but darkness and grief and failure. No one, not even God, can change you or your circumstances so long as you insist upon looking at and thinking of and worrying about yourself and your problems. Your problems do not exist except in your own mind, and they are there only because you have made them. As soon as you withdraw your thoughts and feelings from the things which you have invited and built up, they will flat out dissolve. By abiding in God mind, which means perfect order and satisfaction, you will build a new world of peace, joy, wholeness, and success according to the direction of divine ideas, of Christ ideas. There is only one presence and one power in earth and on the universe, God the good, omnipotent. All authority hath been given unto me in heaven and on earth. That's Matthew 28, verse 18. Remember this, whatever you have done, whatever you contemplate, you are learning lessons, growing, and going forward to a day of light, joy, and freedom.
Yes, I accept that.
Yes.
I sure do.
I accept that too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want all that.
Yes. Don't we want all that?
Yeah, oh, yes.
But we got to let go and let God. Shake it off. Yes.
You know, I remember when Quinn was in the hospital and you were, then I asked you, I walked and I always ask, how's Quinn doing? And you said, Sissy, I'm so lost. I don't know what to do without you. I don't have any, I cannot do things for myself.
Yeah.
What would I do without him? And I remember telling you, just give to God. You know, just know that, accept the will of God. And it will make you feel so good. And she said, you said, okay, I'm going to do that. But you just look so lost.
I was.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a high stress time, and I was needing something else to get through. But some days there's nothing else. Life changes. And if we're looking outside of us for something to make it better, sometimes those things aren't there. Not because he didn't want to be, because he couldn't be. And I needed to be here for him at that time. He needed me. So I had a bit of a tantrum for a bit and got myself together so I could go in and visit him and be there for him. And as I helped him, my anxiety went away. Cece was right. And sometimes we need the people we love to remind us when we don't know ourselves.
Yeah.
And angels
Yes.
show up to tell us and show us the way.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I told you about my daughter, you know, when she was in surgery, we didn't know what the results were going to be. Then I just came to me, here, God, she's yours. She's in your hands.
Yes.
you know, I surrender her to you. And I'll never forget the feeling of, you know, the relief that I felt when I totally surrender her to God.
I
Yes,
know.
so, yes, been there, done that.
Truth.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not easy.
Right.
It's not simple to let it go.
It's not.
So be willing to sit in it until you can.
Yes.
And keep saying, the Father and I are one. I am spirit, I am divine. Say it out loud if you need to say it out loud, because sometimes saying it within doesn't work. I was talking in the car to myself out loud,
Right.
because that's all that was working. Yeah, be willing.
All our steps.
Yes,
Right. All
progress. It's
Yes,
all
you gotta
steps we need to
really-
take.
Yeah.
That's so true. All our steps have to be guided that way.
Mhm.
You had to pull off the highway. What knows, or, you know, only he knows what would have happened if you kept on there.
Right.
You know, I mean, those are just little bits of crumbs of foods that
Mhm.
you gotta learn how to nibble on real well, you know? I mean, for me, it's just all the time, thank you.
You're right, because what if I kept driving? I would never have had
That moment.
that moment, yes.
Yes, beautiful, yeah.
But I knew to get off the highway.
Yeah.
And so follow the promptings, just like the first piece I read, you've got this internal guidance system,
That's right.
and most of the time we ignore it. You hear it and you say, but I gotta get somewhere, I'm driving.
Yeah. You know,
I'm doing this thing.
when my daughter was in the hospital and she was doing surgery, I took my Course in Miracles book. Supposedly I was going to read the book while she was in surgery. Heck no, I forgot about the book. I was just filled with fear.
Yeah,
With fear of losing my little girl.
your little
I
girl's in
never
surgery.
even thought about the Course in Miracles. No.
Yeah.
Until, you know, because my humanness comes through.
That's
You
right.
know, your humanness, you fear of losing someone you love.
Yes.
Correct.
So, yeah, so, but I finally, you know, I realized that, hey, I need help. I cannot bear these. The Jesus take the wheel.
Yes. Jesus, take the wheel.
You drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's all within.
Yeah.
We just have to be willing to look there. We have to be willing to call it forth. Say it out loud. Say it often.
That's right.
It's all progress. And it's all part of this growing awareness that we are the Christ, that the Christ is within us. I sat and contemplated that again in my meditation this morning. What am I capable of if I harness this divinity within me? Scripture says,
Yeah.
ye are also gods. Greater things than these will you also do.
Yeah.
Man, that means things are limitless for us.
That's right.
So go there. Especially in your moments of disbelief, of doubt, of forgetfulness about who you are, what you were created to be. It's all possible. And so it took me 10 hours of working on it Thursday, but it happened. Maybe next time it'll just take 8 hours, or 6,
Yeah.
or 4,
Yes.
or 2.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep practicing. That's what our lives are for, the practice, walking the path, day by day. So my prayer for you this week is that you'll be willing to practice.
Yes.
And when you need help, reach out to somebody you love who's also on the path
Amen.
and ask them to remind you who you are.
Yes.
And then remind yourself as often as you can. And like Jesus said, the Father and I are one. Let's take this into meditation.